How do you think age affects narcissistic people? Do they become more or less narcissistic as they age? And do they age gracefully and accept their new look? Or do they deny the effects of aging on their body? Join me as we explore how narcissists commonly react to getting older. Before we delve into the world of aging narcissists, let's quickly remind ourselves of the core traits of narcissism. It often revolves around a long-term pervasive sense of entitlement, self-absorption, disagreeableness, heightened sensitivity to criticism, and a distinct lack of empathy for others. Narcissists are master manipulators who yearn for control and dominance in their interactions. These traits are stable throughout their life unless they do significant internal work on themselves. Now, as narcissists age, their life takes on intriguing new dimensions. Due to the narcissist habit of exploiting people and only giving attention to people when they can get something from them, they often fail to form meaningful relationships in their youth, be it friendships or romantic relationships. Many of the relationships they form fade away as people move on when they see the narcissist for who they really are. Some even actively distance themselves from a narcissist for their own well-being. This could include the narcissist's spouse and children, as validation and attention are vital for narcissists. Without people to adore and praise them, they can become extremely lonely and depressed. As their need for validation is still there, they may become desperate for attention and may start to use their wealth, power, resources, and other qualities to lure people back into their lives. They must start contacting their exes to try to hook up again, have random affairs, or try to make people dependent on them financially to keep them around. By middle age, many narcissists realize that they will not achieve the grand fantasies they once held. However, due to their narcissism, they often live in denial, and it is not uncommon for narcissists in their 50s or 60s to still cling to their beliefs, such as claiming they are going to become a world-class opera singer, musician, or Formula 1 driver, while they have no experience or talent. If they derive validation from their looks, they can appear vain and may deny reality, which often leads them to believe they are beauty incarnated. However, this can cause anxiety in them, where they fear losing their looks and charm and the attention it brings them. This can cause them to resort to extravagant measures to stave off aging, as they may invest heavily in anti-aging products, jewelry, hair dye, and youthful clothing to appear younger. Some may even resort to surgery in an attempt to turn the clock back. This can cause them to become touchy when their age or fading looks are brought up, and they may react with anger or hostility toward people who are more youthful than them. A common tactic to suppress their fears that they are losing their looks or sex appeal is to seek younger partners or have affairs with younger individuals. They may also try to emulate their children by acting and dressing like them, and some may even flirt with or try to seduce the children's romantic partner. Having their child's romantic partner fall for them is proof to them that they are still more desirable than their children. They may also try to run their child's life as well as their child's partner's life, even though their child may be an adult. This is because they are unable to let go of the control they once had over their child. They may say to their child that no matter how old their child gets, to them they are still just a child, which is an attempt to hint that the child will never know as much as them and never be as good as them, which they may outright say to their child. They will often belittle the children's accomplishments or flat out deny it because they cannot face defeat. Their children may feel like they will never be good enough to please their parents. Leave a comment if you ever felt this way. The narcissist will often enter in an unspoken competition with their children and may actively try to sabotage their children's success or refuse to help them succeed. This frequently causes the relationship between the narcissistic parent and their children to fracture or be under strain. In an attempt to get new validation and attention, the narcissistic parent may turn their attention to their grandchildren. A common tactic is to buy their grandchildren expensive gifts or take them to places that they never did with their children. They may also spend a lot of time with their grandchildren, teaching them things such as woodworking, baking, and so on. This can be in the benefit of a grandchild, but the drive is not there to connect with a grandchild, but to get admiration and validation from them. Some may even try to turn their grandchildren against their parents in a desperate bid to get validation. They want to believe that their grandchildren love them more than their own parents. There's often some friction between their child's spouse and them, or sometimes between their own child and them if they connect well with their child's spouse. This may cause them to try to drive a wedge between their child and their child's spouse and break the relationship up. Sometimes to get rid of a child's spouse who is reminding them of their flaws, or sometimes just to ruin their child's happiness so that they can feel better about themselves. If a child's marriage fails, they will often try to vilify the ex-partner and try to turn the children against that partner. Sadly, they can do the same to their own child, where they take their child's ex's side and may actively help the child's ex try to get custody over the grandchildren to punish their own child. They may even try to get custody over the grandchildren themselves. This can be to punish their child, ruin their happiness, or for the narcissist to try to feel young again by having young children constantly around them. They may even demand the grandchildren call them dad or mom. As age takes its toll on the narcissist, it becomes harder for them to hold up their facade and maintain their false image. They may suffer from health problems, have diminished physical ability, have financial problems, and may be reliant on others for day-to-day tasks. This is a massive blow to the narcissist's fragile ego and self-esteem. And they may lash out at the very people they depend on, or may refuse to show any appreciation for the help they get, as needing these people reminds the narcissist of how vulnerable they are. This frequently makes them feel worthless, as well as evoke the fear that if these people leave them, they will be unable to cope, which creates emotions they do not know how to deal with productively. In an attempt to suppress these emotions, they try to deny reality. They may try to flirt with and seduce younger people and may dress and act inappropriately for their age and looks. It can be sad and sometimes off-putting to see them act so desperately for attention. Others may actively try to live in the past by telling stories of their glory days in a desperate attempt to impress others and get validation and attention that way. In an attempt to bolster their achievements, they may claim that they had it harder growing up than today's generations, and that no one will be able to achieve the feats that they have achieved, or they will deny the achievements of today's generation by claiming that they cheated by using modern methods or technology. Hit the like button if a narcissist in your life keeps living in the past. Instead of accepting their age and physical abilities and looking for productive ways to fill their time, they may become resentful and broody. They can spend most of their time complaining and cursing anyone that they think held them back or crossed them in the past. Instead of dealing with their problems, they use it as a means to gain attention by playing the victim and acting as if they are struggling immensely. Yet they often refuse help, have several excuses for why an idea will not work or will not work for them, and may even refuse to drink their medication just to get attention. Some may even act as if they are ill or hurt to get people to feel sorry for them. They may even injure themselves on purpose just to get attention. Sadly, even in their old age, most are still emotionally a child with beliefs and ideas that they formed as a child and never updated. They may react with anger and rage when their behavior are called out or when they don't get their way. They often become more envious of other people's accomplishments and can become downright vindictive and sadistic. This is because they feel they've been treated unfairly by the world and people, and that opportunities they missed was due to other people not wanting them to succeed. They refuse to accept responsibility for their situation and choices, and often refuse to do anything about it as they are getting the attention they need. If they suffer a narcissistic collapse due to a setback that they cannot handle, they may become extremely resentful and toxic to be around. They will go on and on about how they were done in and how this or that person ruined their life, even if it happened 20 years ago and they could have recovered. Sadly, the more time they have to do nothing, the more time they have to brood over the lost opportunities, and the more negative they become. They may refuse to go out or do anything and just want to sit at home and complain about how their life is ruined. This may cause them to take their anger and frustration out on the people around them. They become the eternal victim even if they exploited or harmed others. This destructive streak persists and increases the older they get, as does their need for vengeance, which can jeopardize their remaining relationships. Due to the narcissist still trying to protect their ego, even if they are lonely or in need of assistance, they would rather manipulate people into getting what they want rather than asking for help or assistance. Guilt tripping is a common tactic they employ, especially against their partner and children. They may claim that they had to sacrifice so much to raise their children and that their children owe them, or they will use their poor health and shame their children for not looking after them. They may say things like, "I will not be around for much longer and you will miss not spending time with me," or "you will feel ashamed for making me suffer in my old age." They may even threaten their children or partner that they will leave them out of their will and leave their estate to, say, an animal shelter. If they realize that they have nothing left, that their schemes and lies have failed, and that there is no one left to exploit, they may become desperate. This desperation might lead them to be more susceptible to exploitation or abuse by others, and they may become targets of get-quick-rich scams or love scams and lose most or all of their savings. Even if not falling for a scam, if they have no one around or struggle financially, they may experience an internal crisis and may grapple with regret and, perhaps, a glimmer of humility. This may cause them to behave better toward others in an attempt to not push them away, and they may even try to reach out to their children in an attempt to reconcile. However, it is often a bumpy road, and they may not be able to constrain themselves enough to try not to manipulate or abuse people, and may still refuse to accept responsibility for their actions. So repairing relationships is often not that easy or even possible, as they will frequently deny how they hurt others or just play the victim. The need to be right and avenge any wrongdoing is also still strong, and it may cause them to soon after re-establishing contact with family or friends to ruin the last chance they have of reconciling with these people. It can be very difficult for family, as you may have conflicting emotions. On the one hand, you may struggle with pain and anger for what they have done to you, but at the same time, you may also feel pity for them and may feel guilty for not reconciling with them or spending more time with them. There are no easy answers, and it comes down to what actions and decisions you feel you can live with. By learning more about narcissism, you'll be better able to decide if you should try to maintain contact with an aging narcissist or if you should just walk away. Expand your knowledge about narcissism by watching the video suggested you right now.